thought these Pumpkin Spice Pandas were just really cute and a fun stamp set from Whimsy Stamps. So I decided I wanted to make 2 cards that are similar but different using the pandas. So I'm going to use 2 of the pandas, and I want to use this little pumpkin guy here in his pumpkin outfit. And so this panda I'm going to pair with a non-Halloween die set. And this is the jungle frame die set, and it's going to cut out these jungle vines with the leaves. So I'm going to cut this out of some of the black two-toned wood grain cardstock from Tim Holtz and Ranger, because I kind of want it to have a wood grain, and I also want it to be dark for Halloween. And then in the background of this, for the little panda to be on, I'm not positive, but I'm thinking I want to use either the Chevron, the Scratchy Plaid, or the Tartan Plaid in the background, just as a little bit of, you know, something fall. And then hoping that the darker frame with the, you know, pumpkin, and then I may add some other pumpkins around as well, kind of around the bottom. So we'll see how this goes, but that's the basic that I want to do, is the panda with the pumpkin and the jungle frame. And then for the little panda with the latte, I wanted to use this Whimsy Stamps Wizard's Potion frame. And I thought that these little beakers or vials full of potion and the foam could actually be like a pour over in a coffee shop. And so if I colored it, instead of green, if I colored it the color of dark brown, like coffee, and then I colored this maybe the color of latte foam, then I could also add these little potion bottles and make them coffee, different types of coffee, to give it a very kind of Halloween feel to this little latte drinker that has that cute little jack-o'-lantern on the latte. So I thought I would do that. And then in keeping with, you know, trying to keep them similar but different, if I use a background stamp on this, I may also use a lightly stamped one of these backgrounds on this one as well. And then I would cut this out so that the background just kind of melts away, and you have the cold brew frame all around our little panda. That is my plan. So I want to do 2 cards with these, and so let's go ahead and get started and see how they turn out. update. So I made all of a bunch of backgrounds out of watercolor paper and also mixed media heavy stock. And so these are the two that I picked to go with the little pandas. And so nothing is attached yet. This is the vine that I cut out of the two-tone black and gray cards, wood grain. I also cut out the leaves, and so those have been colored, as you saw, with peeled paint and vintage photo and twisted citron, distressed watercolor crayons. I also colored all of the pumpkins. Now these pumpkins down here were cut from the Build a Pumpkin Patch die set by Whimsy, and then I colored them and went over them with some black archival ink pens to make the, I was trying to make them match the pumpkin on the little panda there, and then he's holding two of the tiny ones. So I'm probably going to stamp the sentiment that says it's pumpkin time, and that will go in here. And then this one is the little panda. Oh, and let me show you, for each of the pandas, I stamped them twice, and I colored the base piece, and then I added a little, so this one I cut out just the face and the stem and the pumpkin so that there was some dimension to that one. And then for this panda, I also again cut out the face and the arm to add a little dimension to this one. Now, this vine die, there were two of them. So there was a larger one and then there was a smaller one. And so I chose the larger one since it fit on the A2 card. But this one, the stamp is a square, and it's actually this big. So let me move the panda. So it's this big, and the panda fits fine in it, but the problem is that then there's all this space, and they didn't quite look similar. So I fussy cut it out, and then I trimmed it off the bottom. I added, since I stamped the frame twice, I cut out the foam from the second one, and I added it in there on the inside so that there's two layers of foam, latte foam. So that's around the bottom. And then I will put this up here, and then on the second one, I trimmed out the sides, and I'm going to attach them in this way, and then I'll trim them off so that the frame just fits around the A2 card. And I'm going to stamp, I think I'm going to make my own stamp that says something like, it's Panda Latte time or something like that. Or Panda Spice time, or I don't know. I was trying to think of something to go with the pandas and pumpkin spice and something like that. And then I'm going to add these little coffee things down here as well. So there you go. Something like that. So off camera, I'm going to go ahead and start attaching things and getting sentiments stamped and put on so that I can finish these up. Here's the final product with our little pumpkin pandas. And I had a lot of fun making these cards. There were lots of details, and I think they look different than some of the cards that I've made so far for the Whimsy Stamps Halloweeners design team. So I kind of enjoyed the process all the way from beginning with the stamping the background and then working the way through with all of the watercoloring of the images. Now, I wanted to address a quick question I got after I posted a short video of me making the backgrounds for these cards. So I just did a process where I made 6 different backgrounds and then decided which 2 I wanted to use for these cards. And in doing so, I used 3 different colors on each stamp pad. And when I am mixing my distress colors, I always start with the lightest. And so in this case, it would have been a yellow. Maybe it was fossilized amber, maybe it was scattered straw. And I go ahead and I cover the piece with whatever the yellow is. And as you can see, it doesn't contaminate because I started with the lightest. So I went over it. And then the second one, you go over with the medium color, which was Spice Marmalade, and then the darkest color. And so I did not get my ink pads contaminated because I started with the lightest and I worked to the darkest. And that's how you work with several colors of distress ink. So I just wanted to address that very quickly. Now for this card, I used the Wizard's Potion stamp frame, and remember it was smaller, and so I just addressed earlier in this video how I cut it and pieced it, and so you can see where I pieced it here and I pieced it here, and then where it attaches to the little vials here at the bottom, I added a few of the drops, and then I did say earlier that I was adding an extra layer of the latte foam. And once I started putting things together, I ended up with an extra pumpkin from the second card. And so I just put that in the middle of this potion bottle. Those potion bottles were from the Spooks and Spells die set. And they're right down here. And so I tried to make them look like different types of coffee that, you know, they might be using in this kind of Halloween coffee shop. So I thought that was kind of fun to take a different stamp and turn it into, you know, cold brew drip coffee for the pumpkin spice. And then for the pumpkin time, we have this cute little panda, and he has this tiny little pumpkins in his hands. And I did, on both of them, I did pop the faces up with pop dots. And so I had to stamp them twice and then fussy cut their faces out so that I could have a little dimension on there. And then all of these pumpkins were from that Build a Pumpkin die set. And then I watercolored them with Distress Watercolor pens, which I addressed a little bit earlier. And then I have that Jungle Frame die set on here. I used both sentiments are from the Pumpkin Spice Pandas stamp set, which was the inspiration for this whole make. So both of the sentiments are on there. And that's pretty much it. I had just a great time. The background stamp for this one was, so this one was the Tartan Plaid. And then this other one was the Scratchy Plaid background for our pumpkin time. All right. So those are both of the background dies that I ended up using for this make. So if you have any questions on these really fun little Halloween pumpkin panda cards, please contact me through my blog at playswellwithpaper.blogspot.com, and I'll be glad to try and answer any questions or clarify anything if I can. I just want to thank you so much for following along on this tutorial for the Pumpkin Spice Panda cards, and I hope that you have a very crafty day.